Let's start with cyber.
Yeah.
You've said that a cyber 9/11 is not an if, but a when. What would a cyber 9/11 look like, and how soon could it happen?
It could happen imminently. What would it look like? It could take many forms, but let me just give one that may come to mind, which is what happens when the electric grid goes down. We saw that during Sandy, and you see how that impacts everything from the ability to heat homes, to the ability to pump gasoline, to the ability to have lighting at night, everything. So when we look at the nation's critical infrastructure and where it is vulnerable, one of the vulnerabilities is through the cyber and the networked cyber world that we live in. So we have been, kind of trying to get this word out. The Secretary of Defense has, I have, the Attorney General has, the Chair of the Joint Chiefs has, saying, look, we shouldn't wait till there is a 9/11 in the cyber world. There are things we can and should be doing right now that, if not prevent, would mitigate the extent of damage that could be caused.
Turning now to news here in the United States. Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano has announced today that she will be stepping down from her position in Washington.
Joining me now is F. Michael Maloof, former security policy analyst in the Office of the Secretary of Defense and author of the book A Nation Forsaken, EMP, the Escalating Threat of an American Catastrophe. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
Just to define terms, electromagnetic pulse?
Yeah, it's an intense burst of electromagnetic particles that come descending on down and can absolutely destroy all of our electronics if they're unprotected.
Isn't, back in the 80s, the northeastern power grid shut down one day and nobody knew why, and it turned out later it was a bunch of particles coming from the sun, as I recall. Yeah. Isn't that a kind of a mini example of EMP?
Well, we have a mini EMP could be from a solar burst. We're now going through one of our most intense periods, 11-year cycle of the sun. And NASA has raised all kinds of concerns about that, especially if we were to get a direct hit. They're estimating that the cost could be upwards of $2 trillion, affect about 164 million people, take 4 to 10 years to recover if we get a direct hit.
Wow. And that's basically, it comes out of a sunspot, and so it's like the sun is blowing it out somewhere in that 360 degrees if we happen to wander through that.
Exactly. If it comes from approximately the middle of the sun, it could result in a direct hit on Earth. Some of these solar flares can be 2 to 3 times larger than the Earth itself.
Wow. And what would it do?
It will fry your electronics. You see, the United States is a technology-based society, whether it's our internet, our telecommunications. We have very critical infrastructures. They're all dependent upon electronics, the national grid system.
But when the electricity goes out, the water goes out, the sanitation systems go out.
Everything.
We couldn't go without very, very long.
An electromagnetic pulse can be devastating to the grid. And it is not something that has to be, or necessarily will be likely to be, carried out by an adversary. It can be carried out by the sun. You could have a very substantial share of the U.S. Go down from the EMP.
Due to resource constraints caused by sequestration, Air Force Space Command officials have directed the 21st Space Wing to prepare to discontinue operations at the Air Force Space Surveillance System by October 1st. By discontinuing operations, the space surveillance system would not be maintained in operational status.
In recent days, top U.S. law enforcement officials, including the FBI director, have warned that there's a potential for a much bigger and much more consequential cyber attack in the near future. It was just yesterday that Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano said our country at some point will face a major cyber event that will have serious effects on our lives, our economy, and the everyday functioning of our society.
NASA did a study and its findings are now out. We're not talking about global warming, a brand new government study on the very real destructive threat of solar storms. I want to show you New York City at night. Times Square, drove through here at 8 o'clock last night. Streets are empty, but the electric power grid would be wiped out by the current. Lights and computers, transportation, hospitals, all would go down. The study warns it would be a disaster, far worse than anything we have seen before.
DHS Secretary Janet Napolitano warns of serious cyber attacks and unprecedented natural disaster. The outgoing Homeland Security Secretary has a warning for her successor. A massive and serious cyber attack on the U.S. homeland is coming, and a natural disaster, the likes of which the nation has never seen, is also likely on its way.
Fighting tirelessly to inform the American people of the very genuine danger of an electromagnetic pulse attack. This could be one of the most catastrophic events we've ever seen, and in some ways would be even worse than a nuclear weapon in a single city, because it could literally paralyze the whole country. It's a scientific fact. Virtually every physicist who's looked at it agrees it is a real danger. And we've learned recently that that danger is compounded because the sun routinely produces waves that, if they hit us at the right time and the right strength, can basically create the equivalent of an electromagnetic pulse attack. And it's pretty clear that that particular wave, if it hit today, with the amount of smartphones and computers and electronics in our car, etc., would be a disastrous event that would cause an enormous amount of damage and put us in a very difficult situation.
A solar flare that could have caused a catastrophic electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, barely missed Earth about 2 weeks ago, according to a former member of the Congressional EMP Threat Commission. Peter Vincent Fry, who served on that commission from 2001 to 2008, said that the event, called a coronal mass ejection, could have inflicted damage comparable to the 1859 Carrington flare, which was so severe that it caused telegraph lines in Europe and North America to melt.
We'll remind you as the date gets closer so you can stock up on snacks and beverages, but a comet is coming, a big and brilliant comet arriving in November 2013. It could potentially be 15 times brighter than the moon and visible in broad daylight over the U.S. We will be your Comet Network, and we'll keep you updated.
Comets have the ability to affect the energy output of the sun. When that happens, we then get severe weather on Earth. So there's many aspects to the effects that these large comets can have on the solar system and on planet Earth. But the bottom line is, comets are not dirty snowballs. They are a very energetic plasma interaction of an asteroidal rocky body with the solar electric field.
We are only one act of madness away from a social cataclysm, unlike anything our country has ever known.
EMP is one of a small number of threats that could hold at risk the continued existence of U.S. civil society.
I want to think of that as a hurricane in space.
Just one violent active region on the sun can cause essentially continent-wide, perhaps even planetary scale impacts to our critical infrastructure.
The likelihood of a severe geomagnetic event capable of crippling our electric grid is 100%.